Okay, the machine tells me recording is in progress. So how's everyone doing today? I hope well. I hope you enjoyed the new format with the two books we started last week. Hope it was easy for you to comprehend. I'm trying to improve your communication skills in as many ways as I possibly can. Okay. So today's lesson is scheduled for April the 11th, our second week. So without further ado, let me head over to the material. All right, let me see if I can minimize myself. Get out of there. Oh, I pushed it down. So there we go. I'm out. Okay. You go to the slideshow. And then to the beginning. All right, that looks good. I'll click it. Let me bring myself down. One more time. Okay. So there we go. English 101. Developing communication skills, unless you forgot the name of the class, week 2. Okay, again, scheduled for April 11th. All right, let me start with this reading. Frank Gehry is a world-renowned architect. So world-renowned is like saying world-famous. The Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain, the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, California, the Millennium Park, Chicago, Illinois, are some of his well-known projects. The following excerpt is taken from a biography. It's like saying the following piece, following reading, is taken from a biography called Frank Gehry by Caroline Evanson Lazo. We don't need to worry about the copyright. It describes the effect that Gehry's architecture of the Guggenheim had on the city of Bilbao. So you can see, if you look at this work, what does this remind you of? I mean, you're living in LA, right? It looks almost exactly the same. Well, I'll tell you what, I hope you can find it, right? In downtown, you know, like between Chinatown and actual the center of downtown. Okay. All right. The city of Bilbao had been in deep financial trouble during the 1980s. Though it was the largest city in northern Spain, it was on the verge of becoming a slum. So a slum is a very, very, very poor neighborhood. That's what a slum is. And every country has slums, some more than others. Shipyards and steel plants had shut down due to rising competition from other areas. The unemployment rate soared, which means it went up very high. Okay, very high. It soared like we soared for like a bird soared very fast in the sky, or a plane. Thus making life almost unbearable or unlivable in Bilbao. Could the city ever regain its past reputation as one of Spain's richest industrial centers? Would it? Well, we're going to find out. What could the city do to restore, or meant to rebuild, its glorious past? Was it even possible to do so? You got to ask, was it even possible to think to do so? Those were some of the basic questions that faced the city leaders. They answered these questions by building a new railway station first, a shopping center, a new airport, and other necessary features that help make a city work. So the city leader says, well, we want a successful city, at least one that makes some kind of commerce, or very simplistic terms, money can run through it in a successful manner. We need a shopping center. New airport will be helpful to help foreign tourists come in. And then other necessary features that help make a city work. So there you go. Yet the town needed something dramatic, or you could say exciting, to put it in the spotlight. Spotlight means where everybody is watching, not only the city, but maybe the world. And this is to attract visitors and businesses alike. Government leaders turned to the Solomon R. Guggenheim Foundation. Yes, it's named after a person named Solomon, but we're talking about the foundation here. Not, it's like saying company, corporation, not exactly the person, Solomon. It operates the legendary Guggenheim Museum in New York City, which means it's famous. Legendary means famous, and it's been around for a long time. The foundation also operates an empire of art collections around the world. You have an empire of art collections, it's almost too many pieces of art to count. Thomas Krenz, head of the Guggenheim Museum in New York, invited 3 architects from Austria, Japan, and the United States to submit plans. Gary presented a remarkable plan for a site along the Nervion River, which runs through Bilbao. So remarkable, it would be something like that. Fantastic plan. At least that's what they thought of it. He created his model out of wood. And remember, this is the model, not the city. Don't get confused if I ask you a trick question, okay? He created his model out of wood, foam core that is, and paper. Gary's plan clearly surpassed the other 2, which is a way of saying it was much better than the other 2 architects, what they submitted. But could it actually be built? That's another thing, a lot of people can submit some beautiful plans, right, and models, but when you study it, you say, this cannot be built in the city for various reasons, location or traffic or overpopulation, who knows? So they're asking themselves, it looks great, but could it be built? Soon after Gary had been selected as the architect of the new museum, local Bilbao residents began to ask, ¿Quién es Gary? Or Frank Gehry. That's Spanish for who is Frank Gehry. For my Korean students, 누구 Frank Gehry? Next, they soon found out. In 1991, Gary and his team geared up, which means prepared, for the Bilbao project. And then the awesome task. Awesome means very difficult, maybe almost impossible, of injecting new life into a disintegrating city. So inject is like if you get your shot for COVID, they inject you. The medicine comes through the needle. But here they're talking about injecting life, excitement into a disintegrating city. And if you don't know disintegrating, let me see, what can I give you as an example? Well, let's say when you die and they put you in a coffin and they bury you, over time your body disintegrates, okay? And overall, it'll disintegrate only to bones. And then you add a long, long time, the bones will disintegrate into ashes, right? Okay. Or I can give you an example like a building, an old building, and you start hitting the concrete, it just turns into powder, it starts disintegrating. Okay. So the excitement and life and fun of the city had disintegrated. Okay. Gary had used the computer software program Katya on earlier projects, but he used it to the fullest in constructing the new Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. Katya did not serve as a tool in the design process, but it checked the design and helped to keep the cost down. So I guess, it sounds like what is that thing? I'm trying to think. The program you have, like you write on a computer and then you have this app, and it checks your spelling, word check, spell check. So it says, oh, you made all these mistakes. You got to improve the spelling on these things. So this only check. It didn't use to build it, but check, okay, are we along the right path? Are we keeping money down? What you're asking is not too expensive to do. So this, as it said here, right here, it also made construction plans easier because you could follow it, right? I guess it's very important, like a movie, to try to keep the cost down. You only have so much from the foundation, remember, money to work with. Gary used titanium, a silver gray metallic element, on the exterior of the Guggenheim Museum. Thin titanium planes project from the ground and float like strange jellyfish against the sky. That's what they've been described as looking like. Architecture critic Steen Estvad Peterson wrote, that's what he wrote. Okay. Located on the Nervion River, the building reflects the river's wavy motion. That's why it looks wavy. And depending on the sun and time of the day, the titanium changes from gray to gold to red, much like the Wiseman Museum on the Mississippi River. So, I don't know if you're lost, but okay, let's make a check here. We're at 35. So see, that's what they're talking about. The building is wavy. Depending on where the sun hits, it could be red or steel color or gray or what have you, and it's wavy to match the river. So this is what they're talking about in case you're lost, okay? Let's go back to 35. Here we are. Okay, so we stopped down at the Mississippi River. Okay. Like Gary's early family life, marked by boom and bust. Marked means these things happen in life. So boom means success, and bust means like bankruptcy. So his early life, he had a lot of success, and he had some failures too. Chaos and order. So we all know chaos. Chaos is, let's say, what's going on in various cities of Ukraine right now, where people are fighting, soldiers are fighting a war. There's no rules, there's no safety, everything's happening, bad things. That's chaos, right? And then order. When there's law, people respect the law. Nothing bad is really going on. People are going about their normal day. So Gary's, his design for the Guggenheim in Bilbao is full of contrast. So these things of boom and bust, chaos and order, they're contrast. It's like saying happy, sad. Okay. Rectangular spaces lead to circular galleries with curving walls. So contrast of shapes used in the building. The galleries differ in design according to the art on exhibit. That is the art of architecture, and Gary proved to be the master of it. In his essay, Jumbo, which means very large, extremely large. In Frank O'Gary, The Architect Studio, that's his book, Steen Peterson summarized the general impact of Gary's Guggenheim Museum. So it's like saying he summarized, he covered all the points talking about the success or the good things about Gary's Guggenheim Museum. Let me get to that. Okay, so here's what he had to say. The enormous atrium, which atrium means a skylighted court or open area, towers up through the building like a Gothic cathedral. Cathedral is a church. Gothic is the old structure from European churches back in the Middle Ages, and is spanned by concrete, steel, titanium, elevator shafts, and walkways, and skylights and wild confusion. So all these things mix and they look like confusion, but that's what he wanted. And that adds to the, dare I say, the flavor, right, of the building. And people find it quite interesting, fascinating, beautiful. Gary's museum is a total rhythmic composition. So he feels it actually represents music, which depending on temperament or mood and taste can be experienced as a miracle or a nightmare. That's very interesting. So he's leaving it up to the individual. So what he's saying here is, let's say I go with my buddy Freddie and I say, this is cool stuff. I don't know how he put all these different shapes together using all these different materials, which I don't know if they really should go together, but somehow they do. And I think to be able to do all that, it's a miracle. And my friend Freddie looks at it and says, it's a nightmare. I don't like it. You know, it doesn't look good to me. And that's the way of the world. Now, for my students who are a little confused about that or say, well, how can that be, right? You know, Barry thinks it's a miracle and Freddie thinks it's a nightmare. That shouldn't exist. You know, what's bad is bad and what's good is good. I don't understand, teacher. Okay, I'll give you a personal example of mine just to let you know, excuse me, how different people can have different opinions on the same thing, okay? So I wonder, unfortunately I'm not in class to talk with you guys, but I wonder how many of you have been to the Grand Canyon, okay? So, usually people that go to the Grand Canyon, and I've had a lot of students over the years that once they got here in LA, you know, besides Disneyland and Universal Studios and Las Vegas, they always want to go see the Grand Canyon. It's a success of nature, right? So most, if not all of my students, I'll give you a new vocabulary word. It's called awe, A-W-E. And that's the feeling when you see something and your mouth opens, and at least for English speakers, that's what comes out of their mouth. Maybe and then they say, wow, right? For something that they cannot believe exists in front of them. I'll give you a man-made one. Most people that go to China and see the Great Wall of China, they feel that awe, right? You sit there and you say, oh my God, I've been there. Okay, so I can talk. And that's what I felt. I'm like, I didn't realize it went so high up in the mountains there. I thought it was more lower, but it went up pretty high. And I'm asking myself, how did they do this without a tractor and a trailer and modern equipment? You know, how did they do this? And as I climbed it, the wind was so strong, I felt scared, like I was going to be knocked down. So you just feel that, oh, wow. So that's my comparison. So back to the Grand Canyon. So most people, that's what they feel. But I met a person that I asked him when I found out, you know, what did you think of the Grand Canyon? And she said, it sucked. I said, what? What do you mean it sucked? She said, well, to me, it's just a big hole. That's how I look at it. So I don't see why people get excited. So that's my further explanation of some experience it as a miracle, or some think it's a nightmare. So hopefully that helps. Franco Gehry is a decided loner. So a loner is a person that wants to spend most of their time, I mean, as much as they can. I mean, maybe they prefer all of it, but like Frank Gehry has to work once in a while. So, but to be alone, they don't like dealing with a lot of people or being around a lot of people. That's what a loner is. So Franco Gehry is a decided loner and perhaps the only living architect who has been fully able to eliminate the boundaries between art and architecture. So what he's saying there is that I guess a lot of things in the past in art, you had art and it was strictly art. You know, I'll give you silly, like, you know, art was the flower. Then architecture was always like a building, you know. So he is given the success to eliminate the two and mix them together where you have a combination of the two. That's what they're trying to say. Okay, next. The Guggenheim in Bilbao not only restored the city's reputation, but announced it around the world. And the incredible economic and cultural boom that resulted became known as the Bilbao effect. Might be a question coming up. What else? It's an easy one to supply an answer for. No one in Bilbao asked, ¿Quién es Frank Gehry? No hubo Frank Gehry anymore. It's famous all over the world. Okay. So the story's a little shorter than last week's with the Frida Kahlo, but I'll go more in depth or more explanations just in case on the questions, right? Because there's always going to be a person that, I don't understand the question. What was the question? It says, what's your name? Do I need a computer for that? No, they're just asking you your name, okay? All right. Like maybe Temujin might ask me that, or Phil Chaw. All right. But never Pamela. But I will never. Okay, so I mean, you want better communication skills. Number one, you got to improve your vocabulary. So let me go through these questions. All right, vocabulary and context. So it says, look at the reading to help you choose the best answer to each of the following questions. Or, like in my day, you can use a dictionary. Or now, I'm sure your phones, you can use your phones to look up meanings, right? The Korean use the papago, okay? All right, number one, which phrase in the first paragraph means is going to happen very soon? So that's easy. You'll go back to the first paragraph of the book, the chapter that is, and which one means of those phrases is going to happen very soon. So that's really a location issue for you right now. Okay, two. Which of these words is similar in meaning to sword? So you want to find the one that's similar as possible, as it is used in the first paragraph. So remember, I told you that we normally use it for birds and planes, but here it's different. Okay, so A went up and down, B dropped down, C flew out, or D went up a lot and fast. Okay. 3, which word in the second paragraph means was much better than? Okay. If that sounds strange, sometimes English sounds strange for my foreign students, like out of context. I'm used to the strangeness of it because I grew up here more or less, right? So I'll give you a comparison. I could say something like, I tried both hamburger places and I felt In-N-Out was much better than Five Guys. Somebody might disagree with me, but I'll tell you what, my feeling about Five Guys is that they'll say, hey, we can add this kind of French fry and make this flavor, which In-N-Out doesn't do. And we can add this ingredient, and we can do this, and we can do that. And that's great if that's what you want, but that's why your total is going to cost you over $10, where you can get the set burger, like double Coke and fries for under $10, and the Two Guys can cost you 13 to 15. So I feel overall, and I just think it's more delicious. It's much better than. So find that in the second paragraph. 4, which phrase in the third paragraph, so kind of 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, not sentences, has the same meaning as prepared to do something? Are you prepared to do something, Temujin? Are you prepared to marry Tal? Can you do it? You better have money in the bank. I don't want Tal to not have money for her future, right? I know Temujin's a businessman. 5, which definition of disintegrating? What I just talked about at the end really well, so I should make it easy for you. That's why I do that. So which definition of disintegrating as it is used in the reading is correct? Deteriorating, rotting, which I think was my first example, dead, or imaginary. Okay. All right, 6. The best substitute for the word boom in the 6th paragraph is crash, increase, success, or shock. 7. Which word in the 6th paragraph means failure? Okay. Failure. 8. 8. The best substitute for the word impact in the 7th paragraph is, so substituting for impact, shock, experience, impression, or forecast. This one's a little tricky. 9. In his essay, Jumbo Architecture, which word does Steen Peterson use to describe Frank O'Gary as a person who is alone in doing something? Okay, that one's going to take you a little while, but at least they're just asking you for a word. We're not asking you for a phrase or a sentence or a paragraph, right? A word describes a person who is alone in doing something. 10. Another way of expressing eliminate, as it is used in the 8th paragraph, would be A, reduce, B, remove, C, create, D, disconnect. All right. Now we're off to the second set of questions. This is skimming and scamming for details. So if sometimes I try to give as many words as I think and give you a little extra definition. But if I think you understand, usually that's the one that teacher, I have no idea what that means. So skimming, let's say you have a page of the reading, right? Now you can read it the general way and try to read every word and try to get every meaning. or you want to just skim through it and get the main idea. So you kind of push your hand down the page and look through it, not worried about the to and the and the and, but you get the main point. And then scanning is just like when you scan something, you know, on a machine for your email or something, that this is just scan with your eyes. Okay. And so it's a scan, kind of like read quickly to complete the following sentences. So that you got most of it, you just need to complete them. Fill in the blanks. Right here. Okay. 1. 2 of Frank Gehry's most well-known projects are the Mola Mola in Los Angeles and the Mola Mola in Chicago. Okay. Or I could just say are the blank in Los Angeles, that's the English way, and the blank in Chicago, but Mola Mola sounds better. Pura Pura, maybe. 2. Bilbao is the largest city in California. Mongolia, right? Who knows? 3. Bilbao needed some something dramatic to attract blank and blank. 4. The head of the Guggenheim Museum in New York invited architects from blank, blank, and the blank to submit plans. Okay, I'll give you a hint. He's looking at countries. 5. The computer software Katya helped to blank on the project. 6. On the exterior of the museum, Gehry used titanium for a building material, which is blank. 7. The building reflects the river's blank. The river's fish. I don't know. Don't be silly, Alex. Okay. 8. The galleries have designs that differ according to the Mura Mura. 9. Steen Peterson describes the enormous atrium as towering up through the building like a blank. And again, I don't want to hear Tim what you're saying. Is the answer sausage? Sausagey? Like, no, that's not what we're looking for. Building like a sausage. No. Blank. 10. The economic and cultural growth that resulted from the museum became known as Again, don't put something like Big Mac. No. Okay. Looks like we've finished the first book. Yes. Now we'll go on to the book that gets us into the daily activities, right? That we do. Help you in that situation. Let me get it so we can match the pages and I don't get ahead or I don't lose you. All right. Okay. Okay. So the first thing is getting around. Okay. This is very common. Again, we're trying to give you ways that people actually speak that are not stuck in the what we call the bookish style, the old "I'm fine, how are you?" from the, that standard stuff. So getting around, like a person might ask you, how do you get around the city if you don't have a car, right? Which means how do you travel around the city? And people can tell you, well, I have a bicycle. Take taxis. I walk to the, like me, years ago, I had a car and it broke down, and nobody could understand how to fix it. I took it to 4 different dealerships and maybe 3 different or 4 different, like, Goodyear and Firestone, and nobody could fix it. So I went without a car for like about 8 months. And I had to get around and I had to work. So in Koreatown, and I was living in the San Fernando Valley at the time. So I walked early in the morning to catch a bus. And then the bus took me to another bus. And then that bus took me to the metro station. And then I took the metro station to K-Town and then walked to the school I was working with at the time. Right. So that's how I got around. Okay. So they ask you how to get around, let them know maybe you have a scooter, or you girls, maybe you have a nice boyfriend and he drives you around. Okay. So it says riding the bus. So we're going to do a little talking about riding the bus. So it says no car, no problemo, no problem. There are plenty of ways to get around. Most cities and towns have an efficient mass transit system. That is, they have buses or trains to get you where you need to go. Okay. You might have to look up the word efficient, right? But we're going to do it different this week. Last week I wanted definitions, but these words this week are not like that. They're so difficult that you understand them. So what I'll do is I'll have you use these in a sentence this week. We'll change it up. Everything's good for your communication. So you already know what efficient mass transit, or as we get along to the other words like complicated. So I want you to make sentences with the darkened words or the blackened words. So you're going to make a sentence with this word. Often you may need to take a bus to the train station. That's what I was telling you I did. Sometimes it can't be complicated. So again, here, use this in a sentence. I know you know what it means already. So, say something like, Uncle Jen could say, my life is complicated because Justin Bieber didn't marry me, right? So whatever you want to do, use it that way. So sometimes it can be complicated to figure out which bus or train will take you where. That's true. Which one? Sometimes you take something and it takes you the opposite way. I remember when I was taking the metro years ago, it took me from the valley and then it dropped me off at a station, and then I had to make a choice. There was these 2 ones that went to K-Town, and I had to make sure I took the one that got me off closer to Vermont and Wilshire, because the other one took me on the other side to Wilshire and Vermont. And that was too far to walk to come back to work, right? So, but you can make the mistake. That's what it's saying. It's complicated. Most cities have a special department just to provide that information. So there's another one. You can make a sentence with this. This week is sentences. You can call the transit company to ask. When you call the company, you will need to tell them where you are and where you need to go. You can also ask if you need exact change for the bus. Drivers usually can't accept cash. Yeah, that used to be years ago. That was the only way you asked the bus driver. And then they had some writing on a piece of paper that was stuck to the poles. You went to the bus stop and there it was, but people started covering that with marker or destroying that. Now there's a number. And I'm trying to think. I know, like Seattle, there's an actual in the main one in downtown where you get off. There's a person working in a kiosk, day shift, and you can talk to them and get a monthly pass or ask them, I need to go here and I need to go there, and do I have to transfer? They can help you besides the center line phone call. Okay. Drivers usually can't accept cash. That's why they always ask for the exact change. If your bus ride is $2.50 and all you have is a 20, brother, you're going to pay $20 for that bus ride. The bus driver is not under any obligation to make change, especially for a 20. Just remember that. Okay, let's get into a dialogue. Transit office. Good afternoon, Unionville Transit System. This is Stanley speaking. The commuter, that's you. Hi, I need some travel information. I need to go to 52nd Street and Broadway. I live on 8th Street near 5th Avenue. Okay, that will help the transit officer. Transit office, well, you can take the B12 bus to Mercer Street. Then you'll have to catch the B9. You can take the subway too. So give me a sentence with subway, or if you can't take the subway, right? I take the subway to the beach, right? Hint, hint. Which I don't know if they fixed that line yet. They were supposed to do a subway line to Santa Monica. I don't know. I stopped taking the metro a long time ago. A commuter, I live near a bus stop, so I prefer to take the bus. What time does it come? Uh-oh, now you're getting particular with the transit office. I don't do that. I do this. Transit office, the buses run about every 15 minutes. Bus schedules are posted at the bus stop. See, I told you, they post them at the bus stop. For how long before someone takes a marker to them, I don't know. You can also check our website. Hopefully you have a computer. Commuter, how much does it cost? Transit office, you'll need $2 and change. The driver won't take dollar bills. Oh, wow, I haven't heard that one before. I have at certain stores, but not with the bus. I wonder if they're doing it now. And he won't give you change. Make sure you have exact change. That's why they have change machines. At least what I remember at the metro station in North Hollywood, Universal City. Commuter, okay, thanks for the help. Have a good day. Okay, so that was that conversation. In the getting around, and please come this way, no car, no problem. Now we're going to be direct. Talk about going underground, the subway. So let's start here. Large cities have very efficient subway systems. So efficient, that means they work well. Probably in my experience, the most efficient subway or train systems are in Japan. LA, things can be late, things can be very late. I never rode anything that was late in Japan, like Tokyo and the other cities. Everything was on time. It's a big cultural issue there. Japanese take a lot of pride in that. I think that's a great thing. In the United States, we need more of that efficiency. Continuing, taking these trains can get you just about anywhere in the city, and you don't have to wait outside in the rain. At some stations, there may be people singing or playing a musical instrument. Maybe I'll do that sometime. Me, Temujin, Alex, and Phil will make a little band, and we'll play at the metro station and see if we can make any money. At least enough money to buy a In-N-Out burger. Double, please. This can be an entertaining way to wait for the train, unless the singer isn't very good. Okay, so who would be the singer in our group? I guess Temujin, right? So hopefully he's got a good singing voice. For most subway systems, you will need a token or a fare card. So we all know what a token is. Fare card, a monthly pass. So again, sentences with entertaining, token, fare card. I can say, I am the most entertaining person from the Philippines, right? Her sentence is done. I don't know why she's entertaining, but I have to believe her. You can buy these right at the station, either at the token booth or at the ticket machine. You can put dollars or credit cards right into the machine. It will give you a fare card in the amount you choose to get onto the platform, which is where you have to stand to wait for the train. Slide the card into the card reader or put a token into the slot. That's the little hole, long sideways hole. Then push through the turnstile and hop on the train. So that's the long arm that you have to turn to get in, just like when you go to Disneyland or amusement parks. You push it and it goes ching, 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 right? It's that silver bar that gets stuck between men's legs and then we fall down. That's what that is. And hop, there is hop if you hop like a rabbit, but they mean to get on the train, right? If you have to jump, jump. So again, these bold and darkened words again, also sentences, right? But no silly ones, okay? Alex, nothing like, I am a turnstile. You know, no, I can't accept that. You know what you're doing, so give me a nice adult, well-written sentence. We are trying to improve our communication, you know. Dialogue 2, track 6. Alan, you ready, Alan? I need some tokens, please. Transit worker, one way or round trip? Alan says, round trip. And I'd like a few extra ones, please. Transit worker, most people aren't crazy about carrying around a lot. What can you say? A lot of tokens. He's trying to give you advice here. Maybe you should just get a fare card. It's better than a pocket full of tokens and you could use it anytime. I don't know how many times I saw guys running in the metro station. They didn't follow this information. And as they ran to catch the metro and their pockets were too full with too many coins, they would fly out. So other people would steal them before the guy could pick them up, or they would actually fly under the train. So it's not a good idea to carry a lot of coins. Get a fare card instead. But to each his own. Everybody's different, right? For some people, it's a miracle. For some people, it's a nightmare. Okay, Alan says, thanks. That's a good idea. Do I need exact change for a fare card? Transit worker, no. How nice. Exact change. You're dealing with a human being that's not driving. He does not have time to make change, but the transit worker in the kiosk does. The machine can take bills and it will give you change. Yeah, again, Seattle has a pretty good metro liner, and they've got machines right there, and I was shocked. You know, you could give it up to a $20 bill, give you change. It's unbelievable. I think it prefers like tens and fives. Alan, thanks for the tip. Tip means information or advice. Now, can you tell me where I get the train to Broadway? And where do the trains arrive? Transit worker, sure. Catch the train right over there. Just follow the signs for northbound uptown trains. You'll have to change at 34th Street for the D train. Alan, thanks. Can you tell me where the restroom is? Transit worker, right over there on the left. Okay. So it looks like on this page we only have one darkened word. Where can it be? Nature, I can't find it. Look at the bottom. Oh, there it is, restroom. I know you know the meaning of that. So write me a sentence with the restroom. I don't want a sentence. The restroom smells bad. I don't want that. Tell me something better. Use your mind. We're learning how to communicate here. That doesn't communicate anything. All right. On to the next. situation here. Okay. Hey, taxi. That's what you yell at the taxi. So I don't know what you yell in other countries. In Mongolia, do they Ulaanbaatar? Do they say "Hey, taxi," or they just go over here? Korea, I guess they go "Yogi yo," which kind of means over here. Doesn't mean hey. All right. If the train and bus won't take you where you need to go, or if you're in a hurry, you can call a cab. And now they have competition in our Uber drivers, but I had a bad experience in San Francisco with an Uber driver. I called him first and he took forever to get to where I was in downtown. And like I said, I was the first person that called him. And then he took other riders after me, which is, okay for me if you're just going to take me where I need to go and then deal with them next. But I don't know, because they were pretty girls, he was taking them where they needed to go. Now, all of a sudden, my 15-minute trip took over 30 minutes because I don't know if you wanted to get a tip from them or a phone number, but it was not a good experience with the Uber driver. And so that kind of thing does not happen in a taxi. First come, first serve, always has been. So again, if the train and the bus won't take you where you need to go, or if you're in a hurry, you can call a cab. In larger cities, you can hail a cab. Okay, so the whole thing, I want a sentence, hail a cab, hail a cab. Says on the street. Now that's when you say, hey, taxi. You're hailing a cab. It does not have to do with hail, which is ice, water that falls. People say it's snow. Okay, give me a sentence. Like I will not try to hail a cab at 3 a.m. Right? It's too dangerous. Street. What are you doing in the street, Temujin, at 3 a.m.? Supposed to be home. Okay, so give me a nice sentence there. Just step off the sidewalk into the street. Watch for cars or buses, please. And raise your arm, right? Because they got to see you. Don't take off your shoes and wave your shoes at them. Just move your arm. It's interesting here. I see this. Just step off the sidewalk into the street and watch for cars and buses. We teach kids here in the United States, well, at least when I was a kid, I don't know now, but they'd always say, even on like if you're at a crosswalk or one with a light, it turns green. Says no matter what, we always teach the kids from a real young age, look both ways before you cross. It's for your own safety. Now, just because it's green and you have the right of way doesn't mean some guy's not speeding down the street or some guy's not drunk and he, if you don't look, you don't see them and then you get hit. So you have to do that, But when I was in Korea, nobody looks. Nobody. And I'm even talking about mature adult people who should know better. Kids kids can be silly and foolish, but adults are like, hey, I had a friend of mine get hit by a car. But Korean people in the city will just jump out and start walking, maybe even before the light changed. And it's like they don't seem to worry that they might get hit. It's very, very interesting. You go to a city like New York, LA's getting like that. People are afraid to jump off the curb even when it's green because they're like, oh my God, I think that car's still going to hit me. So you have to keep on looking. So how many times have you seen where a guy's walking and the guy's rolling through the intersection because he's looking on his phone? And then the person hits the car. Wake up, damn it, you almost killed me. And they're hitting the car, right? Because they're watching. But like I said, in Korea, they just, I'm walking. That's it. I don't know. I don't care what's going on. I don't know if they have high rates of people getting hit or not. So it says you can also call out taxi in cities. And the fares are posted right in the cab. That's using the back seat or up by the visor. In the front, as you sit in the back, you can see it. And the rates are set by a group that regulates taxi companies. So again, sentence, sentence, sentence. Now, I can tell you an incident I had in Mexico where they have a reputation of overcharging you in the big cities. And especially if you're a foreigner and I think you don't speak the language. So I went to Tijuana, which is not far. You guys can go if you have not gone. And I speak the language. So, but I was still getting ripped off. Things would happen like the guy would say, oh, it's 300 pesos. That's a long time ago. I don't know what it is now. It's probably more. So I give them a bill that's 500 pesos. And the guy keeps the change. Doesn't give me an opportunity to give him a tip. Maybe we only went less than a mile. But he already took it. So, or they don't have it posted in the car. You don't know what it costs, right? And maybe the real fare is 400 pesos, but he tells you, okay, 800. And you have no idea. So I had a guy tell me, go to the taxi office and you'll see the fares right there. Get a taxi guy from there and you will both agree before you get in the car what it is, because a lot of times they won't post it. Okay, so I did that. I talked to the guy. We agreed. I wanted to go a short distance. It was going to be 200 pesos. Okay. We got there. I gave him 500 pesos. He locked the door and locked the window. And the only thing that was open was me to leave. So it cost 200. I gave him 500. So he got himself a nice 300 tip. So again, different countries will give you different experiences with taxis. So, hey, taxi. Drivers wait in the office until someone calls. Let me go back on this. So if you need a ride in a smaller city or town, you can call a car service. This is a private taxi company that usually does not have cars driving around the streets. Drivers wait in the office until someone calls, and then a manager will dispatch or call a car for you. You can also call in advance and arrange to be picked up on another day. And in my experience in these countries that do this, like it says, it's a private taxi company, so this taxi is not running around the streets of the city. They wait for you to call and make an appointment. Because they offer that service, they charge more. So be careful. It will not be the same lower fee. It'll be more because, hey, you made an appointment with us even a day in advance. So we're losing business if you don't actually call us on the correct time. We waited for nothing. So be prepared to pay more. Don't be shocked if you think, well, it's going to cost me around 500 pesos. And the guy tells you it's 15 or 20, right? Or, 2,000 pesos. Yep. So again, sentence, 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 arrange, picked up, dispatch, in advance. Okay. Wow, we're done with this. Okay. So again, it's the second week with the new format of 2 different books, trying to hit you at 2 different angles. The practical, the studious one, and the daily. Okay. Stop share. And then I'll be back. Hey, how's it going? So again, we've just finished our second week. The lesson scheduled for April 11th. So everybody have a good time. Take care of yourself, and I shall see you the following week. Okay. Thank you.